This is your place for all things Grand Rapids Griffins and all things Toledo Walleye. This is the Hockeytown West podcast with your host, Brandon Cook, Nick Harrington, and Travis Foch.
So, which one of you two is going to say I was right first? Anybody? Don't want to admit it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You know exactly what I'm talking about with Trey Augustine going back to MSU.
April Fools.
Not even an April Fool's joke. Credit to that reporter for releasing that on April Fool's Day, knowing that the first comments would be like, "You're fooling." He was not fooling. Trey's going back to MSU. I told you, boys. And I just wanted my 5 seconds of I told you so as we started the show here. So welcome back to the Hockeytown West podcast, your source for everything Grand Rapids Griffins and Toledo Walleye hockey. I am one of your hosts, Brandon.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Travis.
I thought he wasn't going to say it for a second.
Yeah, I was like, dang, dude, this is your show.
I was going to make it like an April Fool's thing and say somebody else, but, you know, keep people on their toes. Like
Friedman? Where are you going to go with your alter ego?
Let's not
Elliot
get
Friedman
into
of Toledo. Yeah. It is his nickname around here, and there's plenty of good reasons why. Well, welcome back to another Toledo Walleye update. That's right, the second episode of the week is always dedicated 100% to the Toledo Walleye. We have a ton of fun stuff to talk about, including their matchup down in Florida against the defending ECHL champion Everblades and how that went, and a bunch more roster updates and changes. God, Travis, you sent the transactions report the other day, and there was 1,000,001 things on there. Before we dive into it, man, how are you both doing today? Nick, we'll go to you first.
I am devastated by the news from this morning.
Shouldn't he be happy?
Yes and no. I mean, I obviously like. Well, no, because it's more expensive to go to MSU to watch him play than it is to watch him play in Grand Rapids.
It's true.
And next year we could have, had more interview. We had more one-on-one time with, it just would have been a cooler experience on that side. So, and I just think at this point too, he should have moved up, taken the challenge, but I understand his thinking and reasoning behind it. So it'll be interesting how the rest of this plays out with him. So besides that, I am good. It is the first. It's kind of like a reset day for me. So it's good. I'm good.
Good. Trav, man, how you doing?
I'm good. Another busy day at work. I mean, some guys had training, some didn't, so I was one of the ones that didn't. So basically swept floors for half the day, and then we're out blowing bridges. So it's just a very not the most fun job in the world. I'll say that.
Blowing bridges or sweeping floors?
Both.
That's fair. Nick, I want to hit on something you said there with talking about Trey, because we'll start off obviously talking about that decision, right? It does, like, a lot of people think that he's making the wrong choice. I'm just going to go with, I'm happy he's making his choice, and that's what he wants to do. So I'm happy for him to make his decision and be able to stick to it based on what we know. Unless the organization said, no, you're going back. But if that's the choice that he wanted to make and he stuck it out, good for him. I'm sure the fans are disappointed. Everyone wanted to see him play in Grand Rapids or Toledo next season, whatever that would have worked out to be. But kid's going to go do what he wants to do and chase that natty. And I respect it as much as I wouldn't want to see Michigan State win a national championship, being a Michigan fan. I respect the decision. That's what I'll say about it.
I just hope we're not reading too much into it. Like, he doesn't want to come to Detroit. He's getting blocked. And like, I saw some of those comments today on that reporter's tweet, and I was just like, I don't think that, I'm hoping that's not the case. I hope he's wanting to come here, and I think he can, he could challenge Kosa for that top spot. I really do believe that. So, the anticipation, I'm like, I don't know my shelf life. So I'm just like, I just want him here, I just want to be able to see him. I want it now, so that's on my end. And that's just me being selfish. I just want everybody here, at least in GR, sooner than later. We want the rebuild to be over. The faster you can rebuild is by getting players through the system and through the organization. So, this is the next step in the process, and it's delayed, which good for him. If he's going to stick it out for 2 more years at Michigan State, get his degree, go through it, like, that's fine. Like, I understand that, and I'm happy for him on that point, because sports can only take you so far.
It's true, especially being a goalie. Like, things can change quickly, and it kind of goes back to the old saying that you're only as good as your last game. And he's probably looking at that last game going, I could have been better. I want to do better. I want to leave on a high note. And he's probably chasing that. So I respect it. It is what it is. It at least eliminates us having to talk about that weekly. And, if there's more behind it to that, the world may never know. But
the other thing I want to add into this too is like for him on his end, he's the starter for Michigan State next year. So he's gonna be starting. I don't know what I'm so bad. I don't know how many games they play in the college season, but he's gonna be the main starter. And if he was going to go to Toledo or Grand Rapids or wherever he's gonna go, he was gonna be the backup. He wasn't gonna get as many games as he does at Michigan State. So that may have played heavily in his favor of I'm gonna go back to state. I'm gonna get the games. I'm gonna be the horse to run and be go from there. So
there's all the talk of the competition of can he be better than Kosa and all that. And maybe he just truly felt like he's not ready to be better than him yet, or not able to be better than him yet. Who knows? He just maybe not as confident in his game as we all read into how confident he probably should be with how talented of a goaltender he is. I mean, goalies are weird. It's a mental game. He just might not be ready. So that's up to him to make that choice. It's not up to us as fans, and we'll respect it. And who knows? Maybe it's a guy that we can somehow get a hold of and chat with in the offseason. Who knows? But anyways, moving on to the Toledo Walleye. Let's talk about them. Trav, there was a million roster updates this week. You highlighted the most important ones for us in the note here. Kind of walk me through some of the changes.
Well, the biggest one is they got a new player, and college free agent Will Hillman. He played at Minnesota State. Didn't put up the amount of points that some of the other guys that they've signed out of college in the past have. But, everybody wants some size, and they sign a 6'2" forward that primarily plays center. So again, it's kind of become a trend if you look at their roster signings for down the middle. Look at Nolan Moyle, he's 6'2". Now you got Hillman at 6'2", and it's just they're starting to add some size down the middle, and I think that's a key thing to keep an eye on. It's going to be interesting. Obviously, there's only 5 games left in the season, so he's going to have to play all 5 to be eligible, and it just is going to he has an opportunity to, again, make a decision even tougher for a coaching staff that's going to have to make a lot of decisions.
Yeah,
he hasn't played yet?
I believe he's in the lineup tonight.
So he's going to score because these new kids are always scoring.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the 2 kids from Miami are really scoring, and when we signed them, we were kind of unsure, but you don't really know what you're getting when you see the team they came from. And I know based off roster sheets with Hillman, he was pretty much their third line center, so he kind of played in that defensive shut down bottom 6 role. So it's going to be interesting. I'm keeping tabs on the game right now, and we'll see what happens.
It will be interesting to see, especially because he basically has to play all 5 of these games, right, to even be eligible for that roster. So making the coach's life more challenging, adding more players, they're making their own life more challenging in reality, but at the same time, that's not a bad problem to have. So excited to see what he can do, if anything at all, and it's at least good to know they've got options right now. And, that's something that when we talk about the Griffins, we can't say we have options. So it is nice to kind of flip-flop and go, all right, at least we're talking about a team today that has options. If you don't know what we're talking about, tune into the last Grand Rapids episode because we talked a lot about the options they have or lack thereof right now. So anyways, moving on from that, we see Matty Anderson back from Toronto, eh?
Yeah, it's a huge addition. We were wondering, is he going to come back for playoffs? When's he going to be back? And he gets back with 5 games to go. So hopefully, I'm hoping that he's here for the rest of the year. I think that's kind of what everybody's hoping for. I'm sure he, would have loved to stay with the Marlies. I don't even know if the Marlies are going to make the playoffs. You guys would have to tell me that.
Yes, sir.
It's just, again, that's a huge boost to the defense, and he's already got an assist tonight. So that just goes to show you the kind of impactful player he is. I still think out of everybody on the team, he's the best skater on the team when he's on the roster. He just flies.
Skating's unreal, man.
Yeah, he's got the skating to be in the American League, and it's kind of crazy he hasn't gotten that full opportunity yet for a full season. So it's just good for Toledo to get a guy like that back at this point in the season, and probably going to be with the team through this last 5 games and into the playoffs.
It's exciting. It's a nice piece to have, man. I love having Maddie on the team. And Toronto, they are sitting in a playoff spot right now, just to confirm that.
Yeah.
They're in 3rd in the North, but the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, it's all super tight. So anything could happen with that. But at the same time, we're just happy to have him back. We're also happy to see Adrian Baraldo return to the lineup as well over this past weekend.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit more. It was good to see him play. He's definitely got to get up to speed. I know when you come off of like the injury that he had, it takes time to even just heal, let alone get up to game speed, let alone at the end of the year with like 7 games left. Hey, here you go. You're getting thrown into the deep end. I think he made a few plays that were good, and then you can see where it's like, okay, there's still some rust there, but that's not all on him, right? Like, it just takes time. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle this. I believe he's playing tonight. I would assume he's going to play Friday night, and then I would assume he'll play Friday and Sunday the week after, and that would technically get him qualified for the playoffs. I don't see him playing any back-to-backs because he did not play on Saturday in Florida, and I don't anticipate him playing in the back-to-back this weekend.
That makes sense. You don't want to throw him, all the way into the lineup like that, especially coming back from an injury as significant as that. So that is the smart way to play it. And then speaking of injuries and reserve and everything, this list is long here. You got Pietola placed on reserve, Bliss on reserve, Swire to 3-day IR, Pelosic to 14-day IR, and Pilon moved from 3-day to 14-day IR. Oof. That's some names on that list.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, right? You're trying to get guys in, trying to get guys qualified that maybe just got into the team, so on and so forth. You look at Pietola. I don't know. It seems like they've rotated so many guys defensively, so I think that's maybe just part of the rotation, trying to keep some guys fresh. Swire, that's tough. I would assume, again, it's just like a rest thing. Like, I'm hoping that's what it is. Bliss, he started the game on Saturday, didn't finish the game from what I could tell watching on TV. So yeah, we're kind of at the point of the year where it's like, okay, there's 5 games left. You got 2 weeks. Like, he's battled injuries all year. Do we maybe just sit him till the playoffs? Like, just maybe shut him down to the playoffs, let him get healthy, let him, just kind of rest any lingering issues. I'm sure he wants to play every game, and I'm sure he'll tell us that, and he'll probably yell at me for saying that. But, maybe it's just like a health thing, and again, with Hillman, he's a center, so it gives you some flexibility. And, like if you look at with him out, you've got Craggs can play center, Gallant can play center, Moyle can play center, Hillman can play center. So there's 4 guys right there.
Yeah,
is there anybody on that list we should be worried about?
I don't think so. From what they don't really release anything, so you don't really know what's going on with certain guys, right? But I think as a whole, I think they should be pretty healthy come the playoffs. Outside of the injuries that we know about, that if guys have been out for a while.
Yeah, it makes sense to shut some guys down now at this. Like, it's not like Bliss is going to need a week to get back up to speed if they take him out for the rest of the season. Like, he's going to be able to jump back in, no problem. And he's been a warrior this season, going through some of the injuries he's gone through and how many pucks to the knee he's taken and all this. Like, he just needs a break. So give him the rest. Let him just enjoy and get up to speed here, and then get him ready for playoffs. That makes sense to me. As much as he might hate hearing that, that's the right choice. So I like it. Outside of that, no other crazy lineup changes or news and updates. It's time to dive in to talk about these games down in Florida. And the best way to describe the Florida game on Friday for our YouTube viewers that can see this image here, thanks to the Walleye, that right there, that image of Jan Bednar with the brick wall behind him is the best way to describe this game. He was phenomenal with a 1-0 shutout win over the Everblades after being bounced back and forth the week before between Grand Rapids and Toledo. Gets down to Florida, settles right in, and shuts out the defending champs. How was Jan's performance in this game?
Well, you've described it. It was unbelievable. He played probably, I think, his best game as a professional. Like, you're standing at the other end from a 3-time back-to-back-to-back cup champion. Like, that's a tall order, and a guy that's got a sub 2 goals against average for the entire season. Like, you're going up against one of the best in the league, probably should be in the American League, and you outduel him. Like, that's unbelievable. He played so good. He made so many huge saves, especially in the third. Florida gave him a push late, but, throughout the whole game, he was making just 10-bell saves, and I would have to imagine he was so happy after that game, and a huge credit to him because he was with the Griffins in the middle of the week and then had to fly to Florida. So like midweek. So it's, again, like we've talked about in the past, like with guys even just going down on the same day they play, I get that he maybe had a day and a half or so of rest, but still to fly down midweek after going up and down, and then fly to Florida, that's a lot in a week. So huge credit to him. And I mean, you can't be anything short of impressed with that game.
Especially coming off the game in Grand Rapids that he had to play Wednesday. Like, it was a 4-0 shutout loss to the Texas Stars. A rough performance for the team in general. To bounce back like that, just one, continuing the resiliency of goaltenders in this organization who bounce back and have incredible games after a rough outing. And then, like you said, too, with that travel there, sure, a day and a half in Florida probably heals everybody, honestly. Let's be real. This time of year, some time in the sun doesn't hurt anyone. But, yeah, incredible performance by him, especially facing 28 shots in this game. Very well done.
I was stoked for him. I mean, just because I was at the game Wednesday. I'm just like, oh man. So he did, from what I could pick up in the locker room, he wasn't really sure what the schedule was moving forward. So for him to get shipped down to Florida and then have the shutout, and I saw, because I started watching a little bit of the game and saw that he shut him out. I was like, and I know Travis you were pumping this matchup up all week with us in the group chat of like, this is the championship. This is the previews to the finals potentially. And to see him shut out, I was like, dang, Benzie's on one right now. Like, he's feeling it. He's seeing the puck really well. This time up in GR must have helped him. I'm excited to kind of talk with him hopefully soon about kind of that transition between the two and how much that's helped him. So,
yeah, 100%. Let's talk about the lone goal scorer in this game here. Malton gets his second as a Walleye here, and it was a pretty nice goal overall, I would say. What do you think, Trav?
I mean, it's probably one Johnson wants back. If you're being honest, as a wraparound, you're not. I mean, like, you're gonna see it here. It's just like a little wraparound play that, it's a weird one, and sometimes you need those. Like, you're probably not expecting that to be the only goal in this game when it went in, So, but again, you're talking about another college free agent signing that comes in. He's kind of solidified himself in that top 6 for the defense. I think he's played almost every game since he's signed with the team. So, like, another guy that's making a run at the playoff roster as we get closer and closer for them to keep an eye on. And I think he's kind of put himself in a position to where he's probably going to be on that roster. It's just a matter of who else is with him at this point. But I would personally be surprised if he's not on the roster.
Yeah, me too at this point. I think he's made enough of an impact to say that I need to be on that roster. He's earning that spot game by game here. So, again, it'll be interesting. That episode we do after that playoff roster comes out will be a very interesting one to really dive into and see what decisions were made and what choices were made. And again, I don't envy this coaching staff because they have some tough calls to make here. So, outside of that, in this game, the only other headline we had for it, was special teams wise. They go over 2 on the power play, but a perfect 3 for 3 on the penalty kill. So at least it balanced it out on that end. Obviously, not letting Florida win this game off of a special teams play. So what did you see from the Walleye penalty kill in this game that impressed you the most?
I think they just kind of stuck within their structure. And I mean, Yanni also really helped them a couple times too. So you're getting key saves while also just kind of trying to stay within yourself, not make a mistake, right? You want to make them make the mistake. So really it's just to go down there and see. I mean, they only gave up 1 power play goal and 9 chances. So they were 8 for 9. That's pretty consistent on your penalty kill, which their penalty kill has been pretty good all year. Actually, both special teams have been pretty good all season. So, but as a whole, I thought they did pretty well at just kind of not giving up easy offense despite being short. So That's probably the biggest takeaway that I have.
All right. Well, let's move into Saturday's game. Unfortunately, this one's not a winning result to talk about, but as Travis, you and I both kind of talked off, to each other on this and said, we kind of expected 2 points out of this weekend, and we were happy to get 2 points. We didn't think they'd go down there and just walk away with 2 easy victories against Florida, but let's be real. They didn't make this victory for Florida on Saturday an easy one. Even with getting outshot in this game again, it wasn't easy for Florida.
No, it wasn't, and a credit to them for battling back because they were down 3-1 at one point and then got it to 3-2 and almost tied it in the last couple minutes. So a credit to them for sticking with it and almost coming back to tie the game. They had one really good chance in front at the end. I forget who was in front, couldn't get a stick on it. But as a whole, I mean, if you look at this game, yeah, they gave up 3. But again, you look at the power play, like 1 for 7. Which, I'll kind of get into. Like, they were 0 for 2 the first game, 1 for 7 the second game. So, again, 8 for 9 on penalty kills. Or they were 9 for 10, I'm sorry. Or, yeah, 8 for 9. So,
That's hard.
Yeah. So, both teams 8 for 9 on the penalty kill. But the one thing that I think Florida did that it really took Toledo a lot of time to get used to is they were super aggressive on the penalty kill. If the puck went to the boards, they were hard on the puck. Didn't matter if the Walleye sent 1 guy, they sent 2. If they sent 2, they'd send 3. So it was just like they were all over the place. They were really fast at cutting off angles and keeping them to the outside, which the Hawkins goal, the power play goal, was from distance. But that was a great one-timer. But at the same time, like, that was probably the one thing for me that I noticed is how aggressive their penalty kill was with Florida.
A lot of credit to them for, taking the time to prepare with that week off heading into this, or the 5 days or 4 days off, I should say, heading into it. They took their time to prepare. They studied properly for Florida and they were ready. And that's all you can really ask for, is to be ready and to go out there and look like you're ready to face this team. And again, that's just credit to the guys and credit to the coaching staff for getting them set up properly for these 2 games. Because like you've said all season, these were the games that were circled on everybody's calendar. Everybody wanted to see what the results were going to be for this. And we knew if the results went super south, it was going to be a total meltdown from the fan base. But you look at this at the end, you're like, okay, everyone seems pretty satisfied with what we saw, including us.
Well, the biggest thing that I can say is, like, if you look at this and say it was a 7-game series, like, and you're the team that's got to start on the road, you have one job: go down there and get a split. So they did their job. Like, I know we're not in playoffs yet, but that's just kind of the first thing that came in my head. Like, I even said to Kels, like, if this was in June and you're saying to yourself, okay, they got to go down there on the road, back-to-back-to-back cup champs, and if they can just win 1 game and bring it home, you'd take that in a heartbeat, and I think all the players would take that in a heartbeat. So, like I said, I'm glad with how they play. The only thing too is, like, offensively, I feel like they didn't get to their game until late in the third period on the Saturday game. It seemed like that's kind of when they started to generate more offense consistently. I would have liked to see maybe a little more offense in both games. But again, when you're playing really good teams, it's hard to generate offense, and you got to take advantage of your opportunities. So it's just, Florida got maybe one more save in this game. But, it's not like Carter was bad by any means in this game. I mean, he was, 32 of 35. That's a pretty solid outing for, a rookie goaltender going into an environment like that. So, again, back to it, just being credit to them. They were prepared. I thought, they didn't look out of place by any means. I wasn't expecting them to look out of place, and I was pleased to come out of it with 2 points.
Why do you think they went with Carter the second game?
They've rotated all year. I mean, honestly, I thought Carter would have got Friday's game and Bednar would have got Saturday with all the crazy travel, but they have a plan and they stick to it. Like, Bednar's playing tonight, so the rotation it stays. One plays one plays the next.
So they're doing the same thing with what Dan Watson does for last year. He kind of had the goalies on his schedule as well. So that's good to see on that. I just figure, like, if you think these 2 teams are going to make it to the finals, you probably just ride Jan and then use Carter as a wild card since they haven't seen Carter yet.
Well, I mean, I look at the last few years, like Toledo hasn't really rode a goaltender since Billy Christopoulos. And that was in 21 and 22. So that was, what, 3 seasons ago? I mean, ever since then, it's just been a committee.
Maybe they need to.
Well, yeah, and like the year they had Kosa here, it was Kosa and Letheman. Last year it was Letheman and Bednar, and this year it's Bednar and Guylander. So, and you want both of them guys to be playing games. So it makes sense. It'll be interesting to see if they do go to maybe just one guy in the playoffs. I don't anticipate it, though.
I highly doubt it. And they don't need to. That's the nice benefit that this team has had for these past 3 years now, is to be able to have the benefit of rotating goalies in the playoffs. There's very, very few teams in professional hockey that have that benefit like this team does. And the nice thing with the Walleye is they kind of play the same way in front of both goaltenders. It really doesn't matter who's in net. They don't have to change their scheme and play a more safe, protected game. They just go out there and play their game no matter who's in net. And it's been like that now for 3 seasons. So I like the rotation. I like to see a different goalie in the playoffs. So, obviously you want to see if a guy's got the hot hand, you want to see him go. But at the same time, it hasn't really, the goalie rotation hasn't been the difference maker between them winning a cup or not.
No, no, not in the last few years. I don't think goaltending's let them down. I would say, like, the one thing I'd love to see, like, if they did both make it to the finals, which again, there's a lot that has to happen for both teams to get there, right? Florida's trying to do it for a 4th straight year, and I think they got a little tougher competition maybe this year than a couple of years past. I mean, if you look at that South Division, like, South Carolina is going to give them all they want in the second round if both teams even make it to the second round. But I'd love to see, like, and this again is where it's interesting, like, what would a 7-game series between those two teams look like if everybody had their full plethora of players? And again, like with the injuries Toledo has, you don't know who's going to be available for the playoffs. So you might have to go into it maybe a little shorter than what you anticipated at the beginning of the year if you were to get that far, or even just to the playoffs in general. So, it's just going to be an interesting thing to watch. But again, like, to go down there and just play that well, I thought, and to lose one but win one, they did exactly what I hoped, and that's not look out of place. Like I said, I didn't expect that to happen, but I'm just glad with how it went, and the fan base isn't like going full nuclear, so that's probably the most breathtaking part, is just like everybody, we don't have to relax. Everybody's pretty calm and happy with how it went.
If these teams had to play a 7-game series, who do you think takes it?
I'm always gonna say Toledo. Like,
Yeah, come on.
like, you can't not be the homer. Like,
We know you don't come on the
serious?
Toledo show that often, Nick, but you got to be a homer. Come on.
I gotta put him on the spot, We're just gonna ask those questions. Like, I mean, I feel like back in the 90s when we watched the Red Wings, it was always like the measuring stick, right? You're trying to figure out how close you are to that championship. Like, and this was a good test this weekend, right? With these two teams. Like, do you feel that Toledo was able to, match right there? And I don't, like, we can see the score, we can see the win-loss, but, like, just play-wise?
Like I said earlier, the biggest thing is I'd maybe like to see them get to it a little more offensively. That's where a guy like maybe Tyler Spezia can be a difference maker and kind of balance out the lines. I think if they had Spezia and you add Banel back into the mix, then you got a pretty good recipe for success. I mean,
You're not getting
laugh,
Bantel
but
back. That's why I laugh.
Nick, shut up.
they're gonna get at least Banel back, buddy.
Yeah.
You
They'll
get
get at
Riklowski.
least one
That's
guy.
it.
It's funny when you look at the season so far, Trav. Like, the measuring stick early in the season was the trip to Idaho, which didn't really go our way at all. Especially when you look at an Idaho team now that is on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
And then you get to the new measuring stick of Florida, and you can kind of see the growth in the team from measuring stick game 1 to this. And that's good improvement right there.
And with a couple key people out, so it will be interesting. They've dipped their toes this month, or I should say last month. Now it's April, but last month into the out of conference quite a bit. You've seen some pretty good playoff teams with Wheeling. You've seen Florida So it just gives you that element of, okay, we're playing Wheeling's pretty familiar face, but again, like they're in a different conference. So in each division seemingly plays just a little bit different. But as a whole, I mean, I feel like they're set up to be, relatively decent. Look, they're not going to enter the playoffs on a 20-game heater like last year or 11-game heater. Like, it's just not going to happen this year. There's only 5 to go. But I think the road this year is going to be a little tougher. I think they're going to, I'm not anticipating them winning 8 in a row in the division like they have the last 2 years, but you can never be shocked by what they do. We still got 5 games to go. We still haven't clinched a division yet. So I think we pretty much have home ice wrapped up in the first round, looking at the math, but we'll see. I think their number is 95. They got to get to clinch home ice for the first 2 rounds. So it'll be interesting. But again, like just great tests. And I think they pass. I'd give them a passing grade this weekend. Just maybe try to find a little more offense.
We're going to hit a quick ad break here. When we come back, I want to talk about the goals scored in that Saturday game, then move on from talking about the Florida trip to what's ahead for the Walleye, and of course, an update on the ECHL Central Division.
This NHL season has been as predictable as a puck rolling on its edge. No one knows where it's going, but that just means there's time for your favorite team to figure things out. And games left for you to get in the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
And welcome back. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about from the Florida games before we move on, obviously, Travis, you said the resiliency of the team being able to come back and make it a game on Saturday night, and who else to help the team do that but the mayor, Brandon Hawkins himself, getting those 2 goals in that game. And I just kind of want to talk about the goals and kind of elaborate just a little bit more on the situation, because it feels like Florida kind of got the full Hawkins experience in this game.
Yeah, I mean, as you'll see, go ahead and roll the clip.
Yeah, we'll put the first clip up for the YouTube viewers here, but and then we'll silently watch it together again.
Oh, wow.
Nick's first time seeing the goal.
Whoa, don't expose me like that.
It's okay.
Why did they give him so much space? They ever watch this guy like play hockey ever? Do they know he's like leading the team in goals? He was the MVP last year.
Do they know he's leading the league in goals again?
Like, yeah. Jesus.
Yeah, you can't give Brandon Hawkins that much time and space out there, but just a beautiful shot with some distance to it, But Hawk, if he has that much time and space, he's not going to miss that shot.
Can I say this? That one hurt. Do you see where he shoots it from?
Oh, yeah. Well done. Well, good joke there, Nick. Anyways.
Ha ha.
Then his second goal of the game in this one, like we said, though, like they got the full Hawkins experience near the end of this game here. And just a beautiful blast from the top of the faceoff circle there. Great passing by them. And of course, it's a power play goal and it's 5-on-3, so you expect good passing. But at the same time, just a great goal again.
Right in the OV office.
Yeah, and the big thing here, too, is they had a 5-on-3 in the second period and didn't score. So good to see they made a slight adjustment, and they converted on this one. And again, like you said, the whole Hawkins experience, man, he really burned them in this game. Too bad they couldn't get the game tied, but a huge game.
It was so close.
Yeah, they were. Huge game for him, though.
Can you imagine if he would have tied it?
If he would have gotten the hat trick to tie that, oh, man, like... I don't know. His head might already be big enough. Like that would have really inflated the ego a little bit there, as it should. You come in after only scoring 1 goal in a 1-goal game the night before, and then come in and get a hattie. to get the game tied, to potentially win it and win back-to-back in Florida, oh yeah, you deserve all the ego boost in the world right there. But just, Travis, I know we've said a lot about this Florida weekend. The fans are happy. You're happy. Any final thoughts?
Not really. I mean, I feel like I said what all you can say. It's just, it was a good test, a good preparation, good measuring stick to see where they're at against one of the league's best. So, and just a couple weeks before the playoffs. So, hopefully they took away what they needed to take away and can just build on what they did right and make some minor adjustments here and there, and we'll see what happens.
I agree. Well, speaking of playoffs, let's move on to talking about the ECHL Central Division. As we've told everyone in these episodes the past couple of weeks, with how tight it is, we're going to update you every week to see what this picture looks like here. We'll pull the standings up on screen for the YouTube viewers as well. There's been some changes in the division as more teams have locked down their spot. I don't remember if Fort Wayne had their spot in the playoffs locked down last time we talked or not. They might have, they might not, but they are the second team in the division to lock down that spot. And the Iowa Heartlanders, for the first time, clinch a playoff spot in the Kelly Cup playoffs. Crazy.
It's going to be if we can close out the division, I should say, that's going to be a very good matchup with Fort Wayne and Iowa. They've played each other quite a bit this year, so I think that'll be a fun matchup. Good to see them get in. I'm interested to see if the playoffs draw any better than what their regular season games do, because they really struggle for attendance.
Well, the AHL team won't be in the playoffs, so maybe it'll help.
Yeah. I hope they get some fans in there for the playoffs, just for that organization's sake. They finally get in, so it should be something exciting to do. I mean, it's in Iowa City, so we'll see. But again, though, that race for fourth, like, it's gonna be. This is literally gonna come down to the last weekend.
Can we just talk about the change from last season for Iowa real quick? I want to stick with them there just for a second longer. Finishing last in the division last year at 62 points and then clinching a playoff spot this year. That's just an impressive turnaround. Like you said, I do hope it draws fans. They deserve to get some fans in there to watch them play. They're a good hockey team that play a really fun style of hockey to watch. So I do hope it draws some people in for their sake there. But again, heck of a freaking turnaround by them this season. You go into the fourth place spot, though. Bloomington and Indy tied at 64 points. Kalamazoo behind them at 61 points, and Cincy at 60 points. And everybody's got a game in hand. Well, sorry, Indy and Kalamazoo have a game in hand on Bloomington and Cincinnati. I ask you every week, Travis, who's it going to be? Who's locking down that spot? It feels like Bloomington's just kind of held it.
They're just moseying right along. I mean, it's like they're treading water to get into the playoffs, and it's going to be, I'm telling you, the last weekend of the season is what this is going to come down to. Indy's playing their game in hand right now against us. We are recording mid-game. Toledo's up 2-1 after 2 periods. But man, this is, I still think Bloomington, I'd love to see them get in. Just an expansion team make it in their first year. That'd be really cool. It's starting to look like it's going to be a sub 500 points percentage that could potentially get in. I mean, if you look at records right now, I mean, if this game holds, you'll have a team at 29-31-4, and then you'll have a team at 28-30-4. So it'll be, it's just going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I know we've been talking about it for a month, but Cincinnati, they're still not out of it. Like, yeah, you're running out of time, and I think the math is not there, but there'd have to be a lot go right for them. But Kalamazoo, now they're 3 points back. Again, they're going to have a game in hand, I believe. Or actually, they're playing right now. They're up 2-1 after 2, so their game in hand is not today.
Where they play?
They're playing Fort Wayne, so that's also huge for Toledo, because if Fort Wayne loses that game, Toledo's points to clinch decreases a little bit. So with a win and a Fort Wayne loss, that's big. But I really want to see Bloomington get in.
I do too. I would love to see the expansion team get in there. It's just funny because I always look at this. I don't watch their games, obviously. Like I don't have time to watch all of Bloomington and Kalamazoo and Indy's games.
Really?
But I always kind of just judge it by the past 10 games. And every week I feel like I'm saying they're like 5-4-1 or they're 5-5. It's just this consistent play that's just kind of like you said, moseying into the playoffs here. The shocking one to see, because the past few weeks we've been talking, Kalamazoo was on a heater there for a little bit, and the Walleye experienced part of that when they went to Kalamazoo. Another 3-4-2-1 in the last 10. That's kind of a crazy drop right there at a time of the year where you need that to be at your best. So I think you're going to get your wish, and I don't think we're going to be playing Kalamazoo as much as I thought 2 or 3 weeks ago we were going to be playing them.
Well, you look at this too, like Toledo goes to Bloomington on Friday. They play Bloomington Friday, and then they go to Cincinnati Saturday. Like, you could almost probably put the nail in Cincy's coffin, almost, or really put them at a point to where it's going to have to be almost them running the table and still getting help to get in. So you could potentially really put them on life support. You got a chance tonight to not have Indy gain any ground. Friday, Bloomington not gain any ground. So and I think a couple of them still have to play each other down the stretch. So it's, again, like I said, I still think it comes down to the last night of the regular season, and Toledo plays Indy to end the season at home. So you could almost be like determining who you play based off of the outcome of that game. Like, if you win that game, you might be sealing somebody else's fate. If you lose, somebody else could get in. So I'm not saying you ever want to throw a game, but it could definitely, it's definitely going to have playoff implications, I think, with how nobody, again, wants to seemingly take this and run. It's pretty much the NHL's Eastern Conference, but in the ECHL in the Central Division. Nobody wants that last spot.
Who's Toledo better against, Bloomington or Indy?
I would say they're probably about the same, would be my guess. I bet if you broke it down, it's probably pretty similar.
See, almost against all 4 of these teams.
Oh, geez. You guys talk about treading water, and it's kind of funny because we talked about teams treading water last night, and this Bloomington team is pretty much on par with the Griffins, just treading water. That last 10 games is pretty similar to what we've got. Goals for, goals against, pretty similar there on our end as well. So it's kind of funny to make that comparison.
Well,
yeah.
Well, the funny thing too is, like, after every weekend, you're like, okay, who's separated themselves, and then you look and it's like, are you kidding me? How has nobody pulled a head out of this yet? So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, the race for the division, Toledo's got a pretty good chance at clinching the division. Just need a few points. You're looking potentially at winning that and then trying to win the West. I don't know, Brandon, if you want to flip it over to conference.
I can definitely do that.
You're going to see that Toledo by points percentage is not in first at this point. So that's tough. And against a foe that knocked them out last year. So it's going to be an interesting race down the stretch. Obviously, Toledo's playing tonight, and I believe Kansas City is idle tonight. So, again, it just goes back to now they'll have 2 games in hand. So you really need to kind of bank as many points as you can down the stretch here if you want to try to get that number 1 seed in the West and make the West come through Toledo. Last year they had it, and it didn't work out for them, but I always still think you're better off to have home ice in the playoffs. I still think that's what you want. If you look at the past 10, you got 7-2-1 for Toledo and 8-2 for Kansas City, so they're both kind of on par with each other. It's just going to be an interesting race. Given that after tonight, KC will have like 2 games in hand, I think Kansas City probably gets first in the West. The math, looking at it from a math perspective, yeah, you're going to be up 2 points, but you're going to have 2 games in hand. That's a team that's in first place. I don't know what their schedule looks like down the stretch. Now, hopefully Toledo can win the last 5 games and just go into the playoffs hot and then have home ice all the way through to the finals. They're not going to have home ice in the finals if they get there. they're not catching either of them two teams in the East. So, but you're kind of just looking and hoping that they can maybe get first in the West and the Central and have home ice come through Toledo up to the final.
Yeah, that would be an ideal situation. I'm going to flip it over just to the mountain here, just so we can kind of see there. Because, Travis, we kind of did an in-depth dive into the rest of the ECHL last week. So kind of providing just a quick update here to round out the show. And in the mountain, only one team has clinched, and that is Kansas City. Everything still remains to kind of be questionable over there. Tahoe, again, another expansion team having an incredible season sitting in second there. Wichita and Tulsa behind them. 1 point separating those two teams. And Idaho still on the outside looking in this division, which I think is the most shocking storyline of the ECHL season when you're talking about the standings.
It is, and it's funny. We've talked about how there's a team, well, not a team, but an organization in the East for the ECHL with the Capitals, the Bears, and the Stingrays, right? And how top to bottom they're so good. Well, you look at Dallas, they're, a really good NHL team. The Texas Stars are unreal, and now Idaho's struggling this year. So it's just kind of an interesting piece. I mean, Idaho's been a powerhouse the last couple of years. Wichita, they got a former Walleye goaltender with Trevor Gorsuch, so good to see him playing well. You always root for guys. And then, I mean, last year, I think two teams made the playoffs last year that were sub 500. Like, if they would have did 1 through 8 last year, I think that the Western Conference, there only would have been 2 teams from the West or from the Mountain Division make the playoffs. It would have been all Central teams. So, a little bit better division this year.
Yeah, because I would say when you flip it back to conference here and look at like the top 8 there, if it went that 1 through 8, you're only getting 3 from the Central at this point.
Yeah, so a huge flip from last year.
It's crazy. Then, of course, we'll talk about the Eastern Conference as well here. We'll start with the North Division. Three Rivers continues to have that lockdown. I'm surprised they haven't actually clinched that division yet. I'm sure the math is pretty darn in their favor here to do that. 94 points for them with Wheeling behind them at 82 with a game in hand on Wheeling. So pretty much locked down the North Division for Three Rivers there. Like we said, Wheeling in second, Norfolk in third, and Worcester in fourth there, with Reading 1 point behind them.
Yeah, this race is tight too with Reading and with the Royals and the Railers. And I'll tell you what, I hope the Railers get in. That's just a fun name, right?
Oh yeah,
Worcester Railers. I think we joked about the Get Railed tweet that was on their Twitter a few weeks ago. So that was a fun little tidbit. But again, two teams, like, you think back a few years ago, Reading was tough, man. Like, if you remember, like, Pat Nagel ended up signing with Lehigh Valley and ended up with Reading and came back to Toledo. And those two teams played a couple big games that weekend, I can remember. And I was like, man, Reading's always got a pretty tough team. So it's interesting to see that they're, fighting for their playoff lives this year for a team that in the past has been pretty good.
Yeah, it is interesting to see that unfold. Then we go to the South Division. This one, it's all locked in. Their 4 playoff spots are claimed. You got South Carolina at the top of the division at 101 points there. Florida behind them at 98. Jacksonville at 86 behind them. And Orlando clinched the final spot at 78 points, which was kind of a given with where they were sitting last week when we talked. That was pretty much all but theirs to lose. It would have probably taken a disaster of them probably losing out to not get that spot. But it's set. And I don't know. Who do you think's going to get that division, Trav? South Carolina or Florida?
I think the Stingrays do it. I think the Stingrays are the best team in the league this year. I mean, obviously they're going to have to go through Florida probably at some point because I think that the South final will be Florida and South Carolina. I think that'll be a chalk. Although I think Jacksonville is going to give – I think the way they're seated right now is how it's going to finish. Like, the only real chance at anybody catching anybody is Florida catching South Carolina. And I don't think they do. I think South Carolina's got it. But if you look at this matchup, like it just you have the pathway of Florida playing South Carolina, and that could be must-watch TV, to be honest, because those are two really good teams.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Florida in the past 10, 7-2, and 1. You look at South Carolina, 10-0 in their past 10. They are on a 13-game win streak right now.
Yeah, they're hot, and I just mentioned their organizational depth. The last thing I seen from the one page that updates on occasion contracted players. I think they had 14 AHL, NHL deals on their team. So that's kind of where it gets into why don't more teams do that? I've seen it work so many times, but it's going to be fun. Obviously, Washington has to be man, we could sweep the North American professional hockey championships really from the big three in North America with the Stanley Cup, the Calder Cup, and the Kelly Cup. So each one of their teams is so good, but it's fun to see a division already wrapped up. You're just kind of looking at seeding, but again, I don't think Florida catches South Carolina.
I don't think the seeding changes much in this when you look at them at all, honestly. I think it's going to kind of stay this way with, 4 or 5 games remaining for each team. They're all about, besides you could see maybe first and second flip-flop depending on how it goes, but with South Carolina being this hot, I don't think that changes. So, yeah, I think it's going to be set 1 through 4 the way we're looking at it today. So, interesting stuff there. And obviously, the league, South Carolina is leading the league. Toledo sitting in 4th in the league. I don't think we're winning the league this year. South Carolina's probably got that on lock.
You don't want that curse.
No. Yeah, let's give it to South Carolina.
The Bradham Cup curse is real. You don't want to win it because I forget the last team that's done it, but it's been a long time.
That's why Florida's letting South Carolina run away with it. They don't want the curse. Makes sense. That's all I have for this week, guys. Anything else that you wanted to add, Travis, specifically to the Toledo show today?
No. Just, again, we'll see what happens over these last 5 games, where they're at, who they're going to play. I mean, we still got, a couple of weeks yet. 2 more weekends after tonight. Toledo leads 2-1 after the second still. So hopefully they close this out and they'll get the small advantage on Kansas City. But, it's going to be – I can't believe the end of the season's here already. It went so fast this year. And it's starting to be that exciting time of the year. It's warm outside. There's some warm days. You're oh, this is when it's fun. Playoffs are going on. So it'll be here before we know it, boys. And I just hope we get to have a couple long runs. I know it's maybe not as optimal as what we were at the beginning of the year for the Griffins, but you never know. Just takes one hot goaltender. I think Nick said that either last night or today. So you just need somebody to get hot, and we'll see what happens. But I'm ready for the playoffs to start. I'm at that point.
Yeah, me too, man. A deep run from both the teams we talk about would be so much fun. It'd be chaos, utter chaos for us and our schedules, but God, it would be fun. I know Nick's just in panic mode after I say what that could look like.
Yeah, are we doing that again this year? What are we doing?
We haven't discussed it yet. We will discuss it here probably next week.
Probably should
kind of figure out what that looks like. What Nick is referencing is last season during the Griffins playoff run, we did post game recordings after each one. We want to do that again, but also being media with the team this year, you leave the arena a lot later than you leave when you're just a fan. So we'll figure that out.
I will say, if you listen to 32 Thoughts, they do car casts. Friedman, calls in on the phone and, is in the car driving home doing the car cast. We're all going to have to car cast on the way home.
We might have to, man. That might be the only way to get through this, honestly. I don't know. It's going to be chaos. It's going to be fun. I'm so excited for playoff time because I still stand on that. Only 2 of the 3 teams in this organization are making it, and at least we cover 2 of those 3 teams. So that makes it fun for us.
The Wings are still in it mathematically.
The math is there, but it ain't mathing. Math is there, but it does not math in my brain in their favor. But hey, crazier things have happened, man.
Well, considering they got outshot 11-3 in the first period tonight, doesn't look very good for them.
That's okay. We got them right where we want them.
St. Louis is in that weird. They have this crazy playoff mojo ahead of them again. St. Louis might win the cup.
Columbus.
I'm going to say it now.
7-3.
What's that?
Columbus is up 7-3 right now. So again, like there's another team that's going to all of a sudden be at 77 points. So funny thing, you mentioned the Blues.
Yep.
Right? They're you're saying that they're going to win the cup again. They literally are pulling a Gloria 2.0 this year. I don't know if you've seen this with the voodoo doll.
I did.
With Jobu, like pulling their inner major league out. It's funny, we were joking about that movie last night, and then I opened Instagram this morning, and the first thing I see is, oh, the St. Louis Blues are 12-2 since Jobu showed up in the Blues locker room. So,
yeah, they legit went voodoo doll. Let's see what we can do with this, and now they're on this crazy freaking run here, and easily one of the hotter teams in the National Hockey League right now. So,
Can we buy one of those for one of our teams?
I bet
no, they got to come up with it themselves, man. They got to have their thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a question we'll ask in postgame this week.
Yeah. I can't wait to frame that one up to Dan Watson. So the St. Louis Blues have a voodoo doll, and they're going on a run. What are you doing? What's your thing?
He'd probably be like, get these guys out of here.
Hopefully it's not bringing that beard back, because that was not a good stretch for the team during that.
I got to call out his beard like that, man. Come on.
I thought it looked good on him. The team did not perform well under it.
No, they did not. Sorry, man. I don't know. It's crazy. The NHL, it's gonna be interesting. I would ask for your guys' cup predictions if we knew all the teams that have officially clinched, but we're not there yet. So we'll save those for a later episode.
Are we gonna do a bracket? Like,
Of course we are.
I feel like we should do like a bracket of some sort with something.
All three
on, like,
leagues. No.
with some.
Yeah.
We could in
Yeah,
theory.
we could.
Like,
We'll do that with our Patreon, guys.
does the let me ask you, does the American League reseed?
First round winners are reseeded in each division.
So it'd be a little tougher for the American League. I know the NHL and the ECHL, it's true bracket. They set it up mountain in the central, one's on top, one's on the bottom, because it's you only play in division and they don't reseed. So where you sit is where you go. So highest team with, I believe it's point percentage or points. Some years they make it points or points percentage. That's who hosts the next round. So it's going to be fun. I'm excited. I love doing the brackets for hockey, but again, part of me wishes the NHL would just go back to 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, 4-5.
Yeah, me too. But we'll have to do one for at least the NHL and the ECHL. Yeah, I don't think we could do it for the AHL.
We just had to go
We'll see.
round by round.
We could do that. We'll figure it out. Let us know in the comments what you want us to do. Anyways, moving on to end this episode. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another Walleye Weekly update. It's always a blast to get to talk about this team, especially after two big games like that. Before we end the show, though, we got to thank our sponsors, of course, DraftKings and Everything Hockey Clothing Company. When you're betting with DraftKings, use code THPN. And when you're shopping on everythinghockey.com, use code WEST. Saves you a few bucks on your order and also helps support the show. We also have to thank our Patreon subscribers, because without them, the show would not be possible. And those currently are...
We got Randy, Michael, Alan, Derek, Lori, Elaine, Griffin, John, Regan, and Claire Boughton.
I was thinking you forgot one there. Way to go. You
I
got
had to
it.
scroll. We've added so many.
It's a beautiful thing. Thank you all for jumping over there and supporting the show. And if you want to join them, head over to patreon.com/Hockeytown West Podcast and check out the tiers we have there. We do exclusive episodes over there, unedited and uncensored versions of the show over there, and a whole lot more, including ticket giveaways for basically the rest of the season at this point. So stay tuned there for that. If you're interested, like we said, head over to patreon.com/Hockeytown West Podcast. With that, everybody have a fantastic weekend. And until we talk again, go Griffins. Go Walleye.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hockeytown West podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at HockeytownWPod and your host, Nick at GR Hockey Guy and Brandon at BrandonGR Hockey.